This practice is going to take us down a pathway to create inner balance, and I want you to savor the shapes as much as you can. So we're going to start with a horizontal chest opener. The bolster is across the mat. The block, or something like this block, is at the lowest setting right against it. Okay. Have your blankets behind, have your belt connected and at your blankets, and then a sandbag and all your other things that you like. I would say when you sit on the block, you want to feel where the tailbone centers. And it's kind of nice because the block gives you some good feedback. It gives you some tail feedback, right? Because you can feel the bone, right? And then when I glide back, the lower ribs are kind of flowing apart, right? That's true. They're spreading apart. And then when my head relaxes back on the blanket set, I'm going to decide if I want one or two, and this feels pretty good, and then add my sandbag to my tops of my thighs. Okay, some of us will want the sand, if we want it all, across the rib intersection. Some will decide that you want to keep the knees bending for a little bit of time before your back is ready to stretch this deeply to basically create space in the vertebral column. So that's kind of interesting, right? We stand around sometimes with little less space between in the column, more jamming or wedging. And then when we come to this experience, we're resulting in less of that, but it can feel a little tricky to get to that extension. So if you have sand interest, you place it across the thighs, and this could mean your knees are still bending and the soles of the feet on the floor for a little time, okay? This coating of weight, right, might allow the back response to slowly release. Doesn't have to be right away legs straight. So arms stretch open. Let your head relax back on the blanket or blankets, and feeling that expansion just beginning to trickle in from this shape. So just considering, if you haven't practiced for some time, savoring the shapes, especially these kind of big experiences in the bodily stretch, right? Just lying back on the props. There's a full sensation in my breathing muscles to stretch outwards as I breathe in. So my ribs expand, my belly lifts. And if you don't feel like you're on the right spot on the bolster or the block, you can certainly shift around. Right? You might move your shoulders back and down. You might slide the arms as far out as they'll go. And you might even get rid of one of your blankets. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get it just right, to feel as you transition into slow breathing in slowly and relaxing on your out breath. And you might go down to one blanket because it feels more openness in your throat. So just noticing if this feels best for your neck or your back muscles to have this much height under your head. And if you go down to one blanket, just don't bury your belt. You be the decider. But visualize how open out the arms are, actually helping the ribs expand out. So find that kind of visualization of arms open when your eyes are closed and the ribs opening. And let's feel inwards the shape for a little bit more time. And I recommend you start to come into a bit of a cobbler shape, right? We're not trying to put a lot of height under the knees, but if you have the sand on the thighs, you might move it a little higher so it still positions to bring that definition to stretching out the abdominals. I like the sand for just that reason. But if it feels like a strain at the top of the thigh, the attachment into the root of the hip, right? That's what I was discussing earlier about that issue. I don't want you to force it. So let's say you move the sand up, maybe from heart to belly, and you notice, oh, that doesn't feel as much stress on the hip. Or maybe you prefer that stretch in the hip with the sand at the top of the thigh. So at the kind of the thigh lids is what I like to call it, the very top. So soles of the feet together could be far down. They could be as close in, and kind of noticing that there's some inner leg stretch. I always find the adductors are really a curious area to get circulation in. Because we apply usually holding the foot with a belt and move the leg out. And that's kind of about what we mostly do, right? Or we do seated poses. But this is a nice one just to let gravity have you, because gravity is your therapist, really, right? Kind of our body therapist is gravity. And in yoga, we can change it around all the time. We can move ourselves upside down. We could change the shape and breathe in it. So take a few more breaths here, whether your feet are together or not. They could be straight down or bending and soles on the floor. Okay, now as we move the knees to point up, walk the legs a little bit apart so that you can feel the knees pointing slightly out. You can peek at them if you want. Now, if you've got sand on, you're going to put it aside and get a hold of your belt. Hold a little wider, as wide as comfortable for your shoulders. Let's not give it a definition. Just hold the belt so that you can still clutch on to the feeling of the ribs. So if I have my hands really far out, I won't really feel that container of my ribs, right? So solid, because I got like one rib cage, right? Don't have multiple rib cages. All right, so as I bring the right knee in, I'm going to move my belt, holding onto it with both hands towards the knee. And I'm just going to let the knee point a little bit out when I land my foot and when I bring the leg up, just a little bit out. Okay? Now feel this for about 4 times, alternating. Feel the traction in the lower back before we put the whole lower back on the bolster next. Feel the knee point out each time you move it up. It's pointing out a little bit. Okay. And then just 2 more. Knee points out a little bit. Okay. So you can feel how you're using your obliques, the side abdominals, to kind of create that hook of connection when the knee lifts or the foot lifts and the arms pull the belt towards your leg. Okay. All right. Now, belt goes back. Well, actually, I put it over to the side and then move one of your blankets back. And then once you're without that much height under your head, you already start to slide back on the bolster. You can feel the ribs kind of puff up. Okay, so once you get puffy ribs, you're on your way. Okay, now slide back a little bit. And then I like, because I don't want to slide off my mat, I'll push my bolster down just a little itty bit so my tailbone is at the edge of that bolster, not on the short end, but in the center at the edge. And then when I bring my feet off the ground, I can feel the lower ribs moving apart, and the bolster is touching towards some rib material. The whole lower back, though, is connected, and some of us are taller than me, so you might feel just your lumbars and just a little bit of rib moving apart, and that's okay. So get a hold of your sand first, okay? And let's place that sand to the abdominals. Okay, feel where the sand is at the base of the belly, and if the legs are pushing in. Now, if you feel your block, you're too far down, you might need to move the bolster a little further down, so that you're not touching your block. And you can barely feel it, but I don't want you on the block. Okay, now, that's my personal issue. Okay, take the sandbag, place it on the soles of your feet. You maybe start with a little bit of a leg press prep. So I'll bring the legs up, move them, push the sand a little bit halfway. And then kind of hold there lurking where you feel circulation around the back of the thighs, kind of warm up, the side of the knees, and the inner knees are not squeezing in. This is key. You're trying to keep the knees tiny bit apart, tiny bit, like they turn out a little bit, not twisting in and lift up. Okay, so the feet are going to be looking like they're parallel because you got to hold all this weight. But I just don't want you to turn the knees in. So I see this often in person classes that people's knees are turning in just ever so slightly. It's never going to be a good knee experience down the road. So you could touch your patellas, don't hit them, just touch the kneecap area. And just notice, does it feel like it's turning in? Your thigh muscles might feel a little bit of this external rotation, like we did with the soles of the feet together, knees out, that type of feel. And then the arms move open to goalpost position. You got one blanket under the back of your skull, not under your neck. So if your blanket has made its way under your neck, just scoot it back, slide it so that your neck has a natural curve and the throat can relax. So feel awareness in the shift of the shape that we're in. We started with a lot of rib energy, and now we're shifting into reversing the effects of gravity on the heart and the lungs. And finding the benefit, I know this definitely, this shape has our many benefits, right, for our vascular and lymphatic systems. But for the nervous system, it might feel kind of like you have to put out a little energy to do this. And then you want to feel the energy come back into the body in a really healthy circulation way when you're upside down. Remember, gravity is your therapist, right? So when I'm upside down and I have some weight on my feet, it definitely makes it a little bit more circulation and flow back towards the lymphatic, the ducts right at the throat area, right? That's an important area to bring the flow back to. And if you like to practice inversion, upside down, legs up, but the bolster just doesn't feel good for you, it's too much, arch, you could always use just a folded blanket like this. You could just have this under your pelvis. Have something though. So you kind of get that cranial sacral curve between the cranial vault, the brain stem, and then the curve into the back of the pelvis. So breathe into the situation as if this was essential for your well-being. Just see if you can let the experience be, I guess, sort of serious, but you can also enjoy the shift in flow back to the heart, back through the calves and the legs. And feel the abdomen expand on the in-breath and relax on the out-breath. Keeping the legs vertical, just straight up and down, not over your head or over your rib cage, like drawing back, just straight up and down. Stack everything up. And before we shift to using the yoga strap at the feet, just noticing how the pelvis is centering. Okay, does it feel like there's some width to it? Does it feel like some, any numbness, any change on one side to the other, which could occur, but you might have some tingling. So your work is on trying to get centered. And feel where the heat is in the muscles. Okay, now that the feet have had some weight, let's remove it. Let's bend our knees. Feel that stretch in the lower back. And then you can toss your sand. And then let's get a belt near you. It's going to you need to have it in a loop. So you got to buckle it up. So you got a big loop. I think this is too much of a loop, too big. Okay, now, if your feet remain a little tingly, I'd say try to get them back up. Don't let them drop too fast and stay grounded. You want to bring them back upside down. Okay, so if you do calf work, in fact, I was going to mention this before I clicked on because some people end up going a little early, but next week I want you to have a tennis ball. If you don't have a tennis ball and you have like the yoga tune-up balls or, you know, like a lacrosse ball, that will work fine for what we're going to do next week. We're going to do some massage work on the feet and the calves. So even a golf ball would be okay because those areas can tolerate that. So if you have some varieties of them, it needs to be different than our squishy ball. Okay. Because we're going to work on how do we do the self massage work and then the inversion and kind of pair them together. I think you'll end up feeling good in your feet and your legs, a little extra good if we add some massage work. Okay. So that's a note for everybody. All right. So the legs are out. The belt is holding them now that you can't really write a note to yourself when you're upside down. Now you want to have how out they are is up to you, right? If you feel like, oh, I have a little bit more range of motion, I would say again, we're trying to be careful about the connection. It's the same thing as the turnout story. Okay, especially those of us that are pretty flexible with these. The more flexible you are, probably the less you want to push it because you're having to heal your bones back from all that work that you did. Just becoming flexible, that wasn't the best thing as we age in the joints and in the hip and the knee, right? Those are the big parts here. So you might feel, oh, there's a little stretch here in the inner leg. That's fine, but not like it's shaky. And if it is shaky, you can't stop it. You just hold the belt. That helps a lot. I kind of like holding the belt sometimes on this one. Right, I like to feel the different sensations in the legs. This is a little more sensation for me when I hold the belt. Gives me more feedback. We'll call it feedback. All right, so you decide. Take a few more moments, about maybe another 30 seconds. The feet can turn in on this one. You don't want them to try to force them out. This would be another story. The last pose we had, we didn't want them to turn in, right? Same thing here, but I don't want you to let the feet be in this big turnout. Just let the legs relax out into the belt. They're not twisting in. Okay, now as we give a little bit of time for the leg pits or the groins to get all that flow, advancing the flow through the leg pits, let's bend the legs so the knees are going to kind of feel like they move out, but you'll get a hold of your belt and then pull to bring the feet together. Lower the left leg down, stretching the right leg up, and then grab your sandbag and place it on the top of the left thigh. Okay. Place it between the hip and the kind of mid-quadish. Okay. It doesn't need to be as far down as possible. You kind of want to feel the abdominal stretch and get just that right position for the abdominals to feel like they get stretched from the sandbag. So if it's too much on the belly, it probably is stretching, but feel where there's some connection. Now, if your back feels a little tension from this, let's start to work with the right leg. So we might need to bend it a little bit more if your back is getting too much pull on the left side. So take your time, move a little bit side to side, even though you're kind of pinned down. And then take the belt, either the loop goes behind your head, that means you might have to make it smaller or bigger, or you can hold the belt with the thumb and the index finger kind of stretching apart with the belt between it. So my belt is at the webbing between my thumb and index, and I stretch the arms over. So one option is here. Another option is belt goes to the center-ish of the back of your skull. Yeah, and so for some of us, it's going to be pretty high up on the back of our head. Yeah, I did not get that belt long enough. Okay, and you don't want to feel the upper back of the leg get like all twangy, like it's shaking, it's too much. Loosen it up, even if your leg is like dropping down. Now that's an interesting story, right? Some of us, our flexibility won't let our leg be straight up. It'll be shaky right here. So if I loosen up the belt so my leg goes down, I get a little core work. Not a bad idea. Yeah, especially for those of us kind of flexible champions. We're trying to keep pushing the edge even though we say we're not. So you might try moving the loop so it's a little bit longer, a little bigger, and then feel the difference in the hook from the foot to the hamstring attachment at the top at the sitting bone. And then just let that whole leg reverse the muscular pull through the thigh bone, into the hip, into the abdomen, and then down towards the heart. Just breathing slow. And just feeling the shape of the breath, right? You can't see it, but you can feel it creating shape in the body, in the breathing muscles. And now hold your belt. If it's behind your head, you're going to hold the back of your head for a moment. Okay, now feel your head lean back into the belt. Now, if your hands are holding the belt, just hold the belt. Okay. Now, let your head lean back as far as it will comfortably go in traction. It might touch your blanket. Okay. You can bend your right knee. That's definitely a good idea. Okay, then take the sand. You're going to just switch sides. So left leg goes up. Again, feel all the curves in the situation. So stay bendy with the leg parts. If the belt is too short, if the loop is not big enough, make it bigger so that your leg has a little slack with the knee joint. And then move the sandbag down the top of that right thigh. Okay, and once I have that sand established and I try to find, okay, is this about even to the experience on the first side with the abdominal stretching? Okay, just kind of take a moment to feel, is it even? And your shoulder blades might be peeling up a little bit. You might notice just some parts of that upper back are elevated and getting traction. So if you're not using the brain float idea, the belt behind your head, you have your hands holding it. And it's in the thenar web space between the thumb and the index fingers together. The palms push a little bit. You don't have to press them deeply. It can be quite comfy. My right foot's turning out, okay? So I'm going to try to move my right leg a little bit to the right side so the foot doesn't turn out so excessively. Okay, so kind of feel all the way to the root. You got two interesting roots on this pose, right? One is upside down, one is on the floor. And then you got the roots of the pelvis, right? So feeling the sensations to legs, to breath. That's what kind of keeps you chugging along here, right? Keeps you on a good feel through the experience is slowing the breath down. And also feeling if the knee joint is starting to push and hyperextend. So you might need to push into the belt with your foot and create a little bend of the knee and strengthen all the way into the hamstring root, right at the sitting bone area. Because I think that's a hamstring root for some reason. So when you're releasing your head back, if you enjoy touching to the blanket, then you might have to loosen up the belt a little bit. If you like a little bit of traction for the neck. This will be an interesting prep for side sage because to see how this neck traction assists you when you start to go into your side of your neck coming up. So right foot's turning out likely, so try to bring it back to center. Just do the best you can. Your left foot's not turning out. Okay, last few moments here. Gonna scan the lower back. You're gonna move your sand off the thigh. And then as you bring your hands inside to the sides of your skull where the belt's pushing, just push the hands back and then stretching the belt off the back of your head. Slide the right foot up into the belt, both feet up. Feet are touching comfortably and the arms are reaching back. Okay. Now I like legs up this way a lot. I think I like it better than sand on the feet because I can feel the lines of energy from it's not overdoing it in the hamstrings. So I can feel the arms engagement with the experience. That's why I like it so much. And then my abdominals can get a little bit of squeeze. You know, inversions are great abdominal workouts. I mean, once you've achieved this and you can go upside down, you won't notice it like if you were new to it. Okay, so let's take a moment. We're going to bend the knees, and then I would just say push into your belt, push the feet away to work the stomach muscles. So keep the arms straight up or straight up-ish. Maybe they're not perfectly straight, but so you're kind of on this track. You're creating this interesting track, the things we do with yoga props to strengthen our core. We just use a belt. This is all we're doing. And you know, if you're not feeling lower abdominal work, all you have to do is tighten your belt. Is just make the loop a little smaller. It doesn't take much. And you're like, okay, I guess it is a little workout. Remember, you need to cinch it up, make it a little bit tighter. Okay. So my feet are straight down. I think they're kind of in a line from my knee to my heels. Okay, keep pushing. Remember, if you've done abdominal work, let me just give you a review. You know, when you'd have your legs up and you go down and up, 90 degrees, 60 degrees. Remember those? Someone would hold your feet and push them back and forth. This is similar to that, but we're not causing discomfort in our lower back as much as that would. Okay, now bring the knees in, scoop them in, take your belt off, and then grab a ball and place it center of the knees, okay, between the knees, right, inner knee, not to the thighs as much, although thighs are kind of close to your knees. And then move the knees side to side. Move the hips. Think about hips lifting. And you might have to go really slow for your back. It's been kind of marinating in one position for a while, so it might be a little bit potent in the lower back, like a lot of pressure has been there, a lot of stretch, consistent over time, been in the back arch. So give it a little time to kind of work its way to our side abdominal energy. Okay, so knees are side to side. Now, feeling the ability to move the knees across and then up towards your arm might give you just the adjustment you need. So they go across and then up towards the arm. Of course, you can cheat and bring your arms down or bring them to the ball. Take about 4 more side to side, 2 more rounds, one on each as we're reaching through the hip. Okay, the knees are just holding the ball. Okay, now I can squeeze the ball a little bit. We're going to get into that whole idea in a few moments, but just holding the ball, you have to squeeze it somewhat. Okay, last one. Now feel when you go to the left, take the ball out. Don't toss it anywhere, you'll need it. Roll, roll, roll into your left side. And then use your hand, right hand, and then slide the left hand in and come down. You might be blocked. You might be blocked. So now we're gonna do a 3-part sage series on each side. Okay, we're gonna do one set. We're gonna do a 3-part experience with the ribs. So first things first, keep it simple. Just have your bolster like it is, just like this. My left thigh is right up against it. My right thigh stretches back in what we often call deer pose, which is kind of a prep for pigeon pose. You kind of look at it, it sort of has some similarities. But my right thigh is kind of resting from my inner knee where I had the ball recently. It's resting on my left foot. Okay, I kind of like that. And then I bring my hands, I put them down on the floor on the other side of the bolster, on the ground, not on a blanket, and then take a twist here. Okay, now feeling the we don't have to outline all the facet joints or the discs, but when you're turning, you're getting more expansiveness. So when the hands are down, I want you to lean your elbows on the bolster. Okay, bring your palms maybe together. Just feel where that turn is coming into the rib cage. Just breathe. Okay, so my belly button's not on the bolster. It's my left rib cage, and I'm just taking this kind of dive down into the twist. Okay, now hands on the ground again, and then just press and take your ball and place it on the side of the left rib cage. So when I'm still in deer pose, I got my ball here on my ribs. You might have to slide down from your bolster because everyone's taller than me. I only know it in this length of a body. So you might have to slide a little bit away. Okay, but I do want you to have the ball there, and then you're going to lean into the elbow on the ground, and you're going to take a rotation, arm open, elbow reaches back, arm stays bending, and then twist. So you got to keep your arm, you have to bend into that arm when you take the twist. If you ever think about it, like if your arm was straight, I just want it to feel as comfortable in the rib cage to turn. So as you turn and massage into the ribs, it's going to move just a small amount across the ribs. It's not going to be a super wide amount of territory in your ribs. It's not going to go all the way around the rib cage, right? Okay, now take the ball out, place it under your right inner knee, and then if you're too far away from the blankets, maybe you have to take a field trip to get them back together again, but you're going to stack them up and pull the blanket stack in. So the stack should be about the height of your bolster. I kind of like it that height. I sometimes will go to making it lower, but that's if I'm on a round bolster. So if you have a round bolster and you want to switch it out because we're on side one, you might get that. And that'll change the blanket situation, I bet. So get your sandbag before you get too relaxed here. Okay. Place it on the outer right hip. If your knee is not happy, you know what? You bring them together. So if your knee, for whatever reason today, is not having a good time with this, bring them together in a fetal position. Okay. Don't even have a conference with them or try to make them adapt. So your blanket stack could go higher or lower depending on how your neck responds. You just had your neck in traction and brain flow, right? Just recently. So the neck is going to probably feel a little bit more stretched out. So you might find that you need a little more. Some of us less support, some of us more. So as the right hand reaches overhead to a block near you, you're just using the shape, right? Using all the props to support the shape to get inwards and find some balance in the body. That kind of was my theme today, was focusing on taking our practice down a pathway. Okay, savoring the shapes that create some balance internally. And just feel the side abdominal stretching. Feel the weight of your side body touching down. And the length of the other side. You got two sides to feel into. If the shoulder doesn't like it, arm rests down on the bolster by your side. But just simply breathe slow. Okay, feel if you can just eke out a little more length. Right, how would that happen? It might be relaxing your hip. The right hip, the left hip's got to be relaxed. You can move your right arm around, up, over, circling, breathing. Take a few more moments here. Okay, and the moments kind of bleed into each other, right? So how much time, right? This would be a good, maybe 2 to 5 minute pose. And you have to even them out. That's important too. So be sure that your head relaxes finally. That's important. Okay, now feel the weight on the side of the left hip. And we're going to eventually get into pigeon on this left hip. So I want you just to notice you're on the side of your left hip. You're going to kind of get it all warmed up for it. So as we start to move up, we first get rid of the sand. Sand gone. Ribs go left again. So as I come up, I'm going to kind of repeat, except for putting the ball in my ribs, how I got into it, how I was kind of getting our ribs warmed up. So I'm turning, and I'm going to turn back towards the right hip, and I'm going to take a seat on my bolster. Okay, and what you might do is get your blanket stack so it's, relatively even. If it's kind of folded down one side, put your blankets right next to your bolster. Okay, those of us that are kind of have a little bit of pigeon aversion are going to use more blankets. Those that are don't go down to one, but you'll find out. So first things first, we're on left hip. We're going to have left knee pointed out. We're going to take a seat. Try to feel that you're more on it's kind of funny to think of being at the front of your sitting bones. Can you see me okay, or do I need to tilt the screen up? Okay, my head's cut off, but oh well. I think what I see, you don't see sometimes. I look at the recording, it's okay. Sand on left thigh, be supported with your knee. Okay, so this means that a block is under the left leg and the right leg has a ball under the knee. Even if you're like so flexible, don't hyperextend it. Don't even take a risk. I tend to find for my knee care, I just put it right on the right under the knee, the back of it. That feels pretty good. Some people like the ball higher, but that to me hyperextends it. I don't think I play a game. I just put it right up behind it. And then when you turn to the left, you're gonna just do a mild twist. So see if you can do less than force here. So I'm turning the ribs left. My right hand touches to the left thigh. And I find that arch through my spine. Just noticing rather than pushing and forcing, more leverage in your rotation. Feel the ribs spreading out on the inhale. And relaxing back in on the exhale. Okay. Now let's take a little bit of leaning into that right thigh. So I want you to get a hold of a block, okay? Place it beside your right thigh so it's like a little below the side of the knee. High setting, like all the way up, the tallest setting. Lean your elbow down to that and then stretch your left arm over the left side of the face. Try to feel the rib cage moving. I mean, the mid body is kind of entertaining to try to motion around because our levers, our extremities do all of our movements, right? We grab something, we walk into something, we get into the car using our legs and our arms, but it's this mid body that's got all the special stuff, the organs and all that. So feel that you're stretching them, right? You're getting some good blood flow. You can have your head turn right, left arm behind your back. Take a little time to just reach through here, the side body. Okay, let the elbow just rest to the block. Okay, breathing. You can have the block closer in if it's too far down the leg, the side of the leg. You can put your head down onto your right hand if the hands is lifted up off the block, right? It's kind of nice to have. You just be a little careful to make sure your elbow's on your block so it doesn't fall off and then you fall. Okay, now feel from the left side of the spine, kind of near the sacroiliac joint here. You can kind of feel that side circulation in the back. Okay, now, when you come up, left arm goes behind your back, kind of keep that together. Use your hand to push into the block to come up, and then turn carefully to center, so you're facing straight forward. Okay, now we're gonna come into pigeon. Now, if you're pigeon, you're not gonna do the pigeon pose with leaning into your hip and moving your right leg back. For us today, this is what I'm gonna recommend. So if you're not gonna do pigeon, just put your block down in front of your bolster on the lowest setting, put your right foot on the block, knee points out, bring your hands back to your bolster and lean forward. Okay, so what that means is that those of us not doing left side pigeon are doing right leg seated pigeon. Okay, those of us doing pigeon, we just take the sand off our left thigh and we move the right leg back. Okay, you might not be able to move it back this way. From here, you might have to bring the leg forward and then stretch it back. Okay, so knee points out, elbows on blocks. I think I like the height a lot on this one. So if I put my blocks up, it might be a little easier on my hip and knee. Okay, and just get a feeling if you lower down your head, feeling kind of the back, the bridge from your brain to the pelvis, right? So it's okay to let your head nod down, but stretch out the back space. So if you're seated on the bolster and leaning forward, this kind of is a seated pose, right? Anyway, but do encourage your back to span out like you got wings. I think of it as the wings of the kidneys, and I didn't make that up. Some other teacher did, but I think of that when I do this shape. The wings of the kidneys. Okay, and feel that you can have a little more stretch in the left kidney, right? There's a little more pull on that side, but there's a little more squeeze on the right side. One's open, one's squeezing. This is good stuff. So those of you that are wanting more hip stretch, of course, you can go without the blocks. You can just go right on down to the elbows. Sometimes having a little more connection, supporting the bridge from the spine to the pelvis might be helpful. Okay, now with that arch of the spine, start to come around. You're going to bring your hands down, blocks or floor. Again, be careful how you're coming back up. If you're seated forward fold, you're already there. You bring the right leg back around to the front and then grab a ball. And we're going to place it center of the knees. Slide down off your bolster. Okay. Slow, slow, slow here. Lean back on your elbows. Now, for some of us that are taller than me, you might lean back on the floor, right? Oh, the round bolster might be kind of nice too, but you might decide you're going to go down to the floor because this is not far enough back. Okay, but I'm going to squeeze the ball like I'm trying to pop it. So I want you just to use the pelvic floor enough that you're squeezing and you're squeezing and you're not huffing and puffing, right? Like getting exhausted, but you're trying to isolate the energy in the legs and the pelvic floor. Okay, my feet stay on the ground. Yeah, that's probably challenging for some of us that want to do more. We just want to do more. Okay, so squeeze, keep the feet on the ground, and then bring your arms off the bolster. Your back can still touch the bolster. That's still an A. Okay, but lean back, right? So your head lowers back, so you're not rounding your back like this. I want you to lean back, but use the bolster. Again, if your round one's there, it'll be easier, huh? Squeeze, squeeze. All right, now lead with the heart, squeeze the ball, and come on up to sitting. Breathe, arms straight forward to the shoulders. Okay, I know you probably need to let go of squeezing the ball right now. Okay, you can turn the feet in a little bit, but squeeze on the way back. Okay, let your head lean back, right, versus rounding your neck. beyond that bolster, or some of us beyond the bolster. That's the next level of restorative. Now I'm beyond the bolster. Okay, squeeze, squeeze, and come on up. Maybe you can make it to the back of your sitting bones. Okay, now take the ball out, place it at your back, thank goodness, and then just roll it out. You might decide to put the ball on the floor to do this, but you can hold the back of your head so it's a little more safe for your neck, and just go side to side. Now, even if you're just twisting a little bit, right, a little bit of turning and pivoting, that's fine. You don't have to slide straight across. Okay, let's take a few more moments. If your hips are doing a lot of wagging, that's too much. You want to just focus on the pressure on the ball. And then, this is going to be kind of fun, we're going to shift to the right. So we're going to walk our feet over to the right. We're going to come up. This time, let's put the ball at the ribs because we're already there. We already have the ball. Get your sand bag over on that other side. Ball at the ribs. Push the blankets away and bring your hands to the floor for a moment. Get a little twist. We're going to add the twist and the side kind of rib scrub. So take a little bit of rotation here. Okay, take a few moments. So the left knee is touching to my right foot. You can also have the legs stacked in a fetal position. You don't have to have the left leg at the right, the left knee at the right foot. Now go to the side so your elbow goes to the floor and the ball is at my ribs on top of the bolster, right? That's key. I think it looks clear, but sometimes you have to have an extra reminder and then just turn with that left arm and rotate. Okay, so the ball goes into the surface or onto the surface of the muscle and glides it. Really good idea, right, for the lymphatic system, but it's pretty deep. It's not like lymphatic massage. That's kind of a tickle, right, more than this, but it's a little deeper. So we're kind of pushing around into those lymph vessels. Breathing, and then taking your side sage. Just move the ball to the inside of that left knee. Take your block on the other side of your blankets, and then your blanket stack. You get to decide how high are they going to be. Okay, my right arm is between the bolster and the blankets, and I get my sandbag in. Again, I'm trying to make my moves slow and not like fast. So you might find that you go a little slower. That's okay. The sand can go on the side, probably the same as last side. I don't think you want to make big changes with the sanding, whether it's down at your hip. And if the knee doesn't like this, even with the ball, it just isn't agreeing with the stretch and this pull on the thigh, stack the legs in that fetal position. It's never worth straining if for whatever reason that's happening today, right? You never know. It could be how you're placed on your hip bone. That's going to affect your knees too. So if you find that you're kind of rolling to the back of that right hip, you can feel the hips area, the hip socket area. You might have to kind of snuggle into the bolster a little bit more so you're on the side of your left hip. Some people roll on the back a little bit on this one. And they don't know, why does my knee hurt? Okay, because you're turning and you're pulling the left knee. Okay, so you're on that right hip, you're resting down the left arm. Maybe this is too much overhead. Maybe motion is a better idea for you. Just small movements. Okay, the hand could rest down even on your bolster or a block near you. You never know what you could set up. You might have a prop nearby that you could use under your left hand over here on the side. And then just take some time to let the neck relax. Again, if there's any strain on the knee, that's not okay. Right? You gotta find a way, whether you push a little bit more on the right hip. Improving circulation is the key. And try to get the breath to sweep the lungs, feeling as you take it seriously, right? You have to focus. You can't have a lot of distraction, right? When you're working on that level, just feeling that engagement, breathing through the nose if possible. Okay, now feel that left arm lower down so you can move your sand aside to the right. Okay. Now, when you come up, you want to come up into the side stretch, into the twist. Okay, sometimes we twist into the side stretches, right? So when you turn to the right, rib cage, come up, take that turn. And if you stack up your blankets, so they're both, one's not half folded, over the other. If you're going to do pigeon, if you know you don't do pigeon, I don't think you should worry about it. And then come on up. And then when you take that seat, left leg out, right foot towards the left inner leg. And what I like to do is to have I think the first prop here is the ball under the knee. I don't know, I just do not like the idea of the knee twisting or hyperextending. Probably gets us in more trouble than we realize, huh? So using that support under the leg, okay? Now a sandbag on the right thigh, and then one ingredient I missed last time in the prep was the block besides the leg before I got there. Okay, so I start kind of centering, right? And centering for me would have less kyphosis. So not this, but I'm not only trying to lift my sternum, but I'm generally trying to move my neck back, which is interesting when you watch videos of yourself, like, I really am trying to get out of the neck situation. So what might help you is to kind of feel the complete sense of your sitting bones. And generally you want to be towards the front of them. We hear that in meditation. We want to be a little towards the front. And when we turn to the right, left hand to the right leg, take that rotation. Okay. Now, if you feel like you're too forward still with your ribs, it's okay to shift it. Okay. But I find that this probably teaches me something. Maybe I'm pulling too much in my lower back. So park your pose, park your posy, turn the ribs to the right, and feel as the ribs turn. There's limitation, right? You got to accept there's limitations to being in the body. Okay, now we lean to the left. So let's say you decide I'm feeling too pulled to the left right now. You might shift your hip a little to the right so you feel wider. Okay. And then left hand reaches over to the block besides the left leg. Okay, I have it pretty high up. I'm going to bring it in so it's easy for me to lean into. And then I'll stretch the right arm over. And just take the time, like if I swing the arm too fast, I'm not really feeling these bigger parts of my body, like the vascular, the visceral stuff, right? This organs, all this massive stuff in the middle that sort of takes time to stretch. Like the levers, I know we just take it for granted and swing them around and grab things and walk into things, but we don't walk into too many things, but it's this mid body, I think, is where we get into some trouble with our back stuff and our hip stuff. And so if we just go slow, we might stretch the right arm overhead and breathe. Feel the arm reaching, extending from the right sitting bone to the right arm. Pit. Go to the pits. Breathe. You just feel where the arm is reaching, whether it's behind your back or it's up in the air. It's the side that's reaching, I suppose. It's not so much your arm, it's your waist. Okay. All right, now may the waist stay with you here. So when you come on up, get that torso tall. Now, those of us that are seated pigeon ears, we're going to put our block in front of our center and then just put our foot on the block. That's kind of nice. and we'll lean forward. Now you can put the ball under your right knee, okay? This is good. Ball under my knee, and I lean and I steep my hip. The rest of us are gonna take the left leg back and come into pigeon. Now you might have something behind you have to kick over, but as you lean in, again, focus on the width across the back of the pelvis and then lower down. So this is where I'm missing my second block, huh? So forearms down, or two arms. And then when you're lowering, whether you're on blocks or not, keep that energy of widening through the back of the pelvis. Okay, and that's going to be through breath and through positioning. So whether I have my foot on my block in front, right, whether I'm here, okay, or I'm with my leg behind me, it's either one or the other. I'm trying to keep this width. So from the lower back, and most especially the thoracic, because that's where I feel that's where my ribs are connected to. There's no ribs connected down this far, but in my lumbars, but you can feel the breath. Sometimes I like to focus on breathing with my mouth on that because I can feel the ribs move, but there's nothing to say I can't do that with nose breathing. I just take the easy road on that. Okay, now last few moments here. Okay, those of us in pigeon, seated or folding sleeping pigeon, I like to call this one. Okay, now when you come up, you're going to just simply take a full turn here. So let's take our leg forward. If your leg is already forward, let's say on the block, you're going to slide back on down. I want us to take a cobbler's pose with both feet together, the knees out, and we're not pushing our thighs down. Okay? We're not pushing our knee. Okay, we're sitting upright, and we want to find some connection at the lower back arch. Okay? Out to the SI area back to the back of the pelvis. Okay, just take a moment here, see if you can feel rib center. Okay, just a moment. Okay, now we're going to bring the knees to point up, slide off the bolster, and then take a turn either direction. And we're going to use the bolster under the front of the thigh. So we're going to take our blanket. I'm just going to be knee careful here. So kneeling carefully. I got my blanket under my knees. Okay, my feet are at the wall. I do definitely like some wall for this one. And then my bolster is across. Okay, same as it was. Okay, hands on the other side. Now, if you have we all are gonna, wrist stuff will eventually come up. So you might as well get ready. So turn your hands out and stretch your hips forward. And if you're lucky to have a wall there, you can stretch, and you might have to take some time to figure out how far forward should my bolster be under the thigh lids, the front of the hip bones, and feel that arch. Okay, now come down so that your belly pushes into the bolster and your elbows are wide and you're kind of stacking the arms here. Okay, so now you can either have your feet on the floor pushing, toes under, perfect. Doesn't have to be different than that. You can have a wall, which maybe makes it a little bit more comfortable on your lower back. There is a reason for that. Just push into the balls of the feet and keep the elbows down. Okay, you can have your arms in Sphinx pose too, like this. You don't have to have your blanket under your elbows. So take a moment here where you're going to lengthen out through the back body. So it's almost like you feel like you have a big cape on your back. I always think of a cape across my back on this. It's almost Halloween, so start thinking that way. So elbows wide, cape across the back. So spread open the ribs, maybe forehead down on the arms. Open up the back. Okay, push into your feet. Knees could be up. Okay, knees could be down. All right, now as you come up with your head, elbows down, knees down, lifting up, tummy time. Okay, now the legs might try to tighten up here to help you up. Your glutes are going to wake up. So what I want you to do is walk your hands back Elbows to the side, turn your hands out because it might be easier on your wrist. Stretch into up dog. I try to just let my legs rest on the ground, not trying to create more force in my glutes. Okay, now when you come back to table, you're going to round your back into cat pose. Finally, a little cat pose. Chin to chest. Relax your tail. Inhale, arch the spine. Okay, do a few cat waves. So you're rounding the back, chin to chest, stretch between the blades, and arching the spine. Okay, now take the bolster forward, place it on top of your blanket. So you have a pretty far reach now. I'd say put it so you have to reach to it. Bring your hands on top of the bolster, stretch out the chest. Okay, head between the arms. Okay, now option is to come into down dog or to stay here for a few more moments. Now this is a lot for you. Put your hands on the floor. Let your head be between the arms. Now those of you that bring your hands on the floor off the bolster then can come into a downward dog. Heels are lifted a little bit at the wall. They're elevated. Head between the arms. Let your head nod a little side to side. Kind of shake out at the neck. Feel your hands pushing the floor away. Sitting bones lifting. Stretch out the back of the legs. Okay. Now lower down. And then we're going to turn around carefully to come onto our backs. And what I want you to have is your bolster at the base of your mat. Now, if you don't have a wall space, you don't have to move it this far down. But I do want you to have the bolster far down. I use the wall so I have something that gives me resistance. That's why I like it. Okay. Then when I lower down on my back, now that I've done front space stretching, I'm going to take a ball, place it center of my knees, and then lift up the hips by pushing into your feet again and lifting. But now it's the heels versus the balls of the feet. And stretch the arms overhead. Blanket or no blanket under your head. Likely no blanket is probably advised, so your neck doesn't round more. And then you're going to lower down the spine. Yeah, really kind of milk this one because it's so good for our back. So press into your feet. Let your tailbone draw under. Just a little bit. Stretch your arms overhead. And then lower down through the spine. Kind of take the time to really feel what's up in your body. It's kind of a good reason to do practice in general. Checking in, lower down through the spine, to the back of the pelvis, widening through the lower back, arms down. Okay, let's do a couple more. Remember, you can have a blanket under your head or not. It's up to you. But your head shouldn't be moving. Like it shouldn't be rolling side to side. It shouldn't be tilting a whole lot, right? So if you were to watch somebody's skull and the jaw right now, what's really getting little movements is the vertebral column. And the thighs are kind of magnetized into the ball. You're really squeezing that ball when you lift up to strengthen into the back. Now, if you don't like the bolster this far down, you can get closer to it. Remember, if it feels like you're just barely able to get between the vertebrae with the lowering down, then just get closer to your bolster. Okay, now the next time you go down through the spine, bring your hands down beside your hips. Remember, go slow. Squeeze the ball. Okay, squeeze. Okay, hands down beside your hips, palms down. And then bring the knees into your chest. And that's kind of interesting, simple energy. It's like very simple. It really has not a big point to it, except we're trying to merge it as a kind of as a uni pelvis, which you only have one anyway, right? Take your ball and then lower your feet back to the bolster and then lift your hips up and roll the ball to the sacrum. And then once the ball is at the tailbone area, so just back of the pelvis, and let the hips go side to side. Yeah, this one I like to have the blanket under my head personally, but you know, not everybody is going to feel like they need that. But make it so that you don't want things to feel uncomfortable or suddenly like the skull is pretty hard, right? So if you're trying to roll in the pelvis, having the other, part that's kind of heavy and thick, when one is the pelvis and then the other is the skull, right? Both those areas need a little padding together. This is the ball, is the padding, and then the blanket is for the skull. So it goes side to side. And you only got one of you, so you might as well take care of it. All right, so next time you tilt to the side, just land on the ball center. Just feel, is it in a good spot? Should it go higher? Should it go lower? For me, it tends to feel better. I think it should go lower, and then I go a little higher and I land. And it feels like a good little touchdown into my lower back. Okay, now we're going to start to get to the glute. So take a few moments here. Something you could do anytime. With these, the balls are great for this. Just let it create some traction there in the back, just lying on it. And then you're going to lift the hips and move the ball to the right glute, and then go side to side. And just massage across that right buttock. So it's kind of high on the buttock, but it's not low. It's actually quite high. It's pelvis, right? So the back of the pelvis really gets to feel that pressure. And then if you get lucky, you're getting into the muscle pretty fast. You're on the glute zone. And then all the way to the connector of the hip, side of the hip, right? Glute medius is up the side. And then it goes around to the side of the leg even. Okay, so kind of feel as you go across, you might go a few faster, faster wagging your tail, maybe a few slower. And then I recommend when you get ready to go to side two, just try to land on the left buttock, take the ball out from the right side, and then move it over to the left rear and just sneak it under without having to grip your glutes instead of tightening your rear muscles. So you just sneak it to the left rear, and then you bring the knees center, and then you can kind of mount up it. The challenge I find is I don't bring it high enough usually, because it does feel better when the ball is a little higher. But to each his own. Some of you like maybe it's kind of right between in the fascia. It's going to be between the pelvis and the actual rear tissue. Okay, and when this is kind of, dissected apart, you're really going into the lines in between that you're trying to massage where there's really nerve-rich tissue. So go to where it feels good. That could be a really important thing in the practice is kind of do what feels good. Some things maybe take you a little bit of time to help it feel good, but be a little intuitive. Take a few moments here. Remember, you can go faster, you can go slow the whole time. It's a rocking motion with these soccer balls. It's a lot of rocking and pressing. So like you're trying to pop the ball. You really are trying to pop it necessarily. It's really necessary to get that kind of edge into it so that you're not spending as much energy tightening your glute. You're rolling your glute. Okay, last few rolls across. So we're going to do a hip crossover. We're going to do some familiar stuff at the end here. Come on down, push your bolster with your feet one at a time. Move the bolster to the right side of your mat. And then take the left leg, the bottom leg, the right leg has to stay bending. So the left leg can stretch over so the hip can stretch. Both knees have to bend. Now, what you might do is put the ball to the tailbone area, the back of the pelvis, roll it in as an anchor, and then take your sand and place it to the outer left thigh. You might decide, no, I'm going to use no props on my body and I'm going to stay with them under, and that's okay. And people feel great without the sand. So the bottom leg is bendy, and you might have to play with how do you rest on your right hip, as well as how the sand rests to stretch the left hip. Let your head roll to the left to feel that stretch in the neck and the jaw. And breathing in slow. Feel that left shoulder kind of rolling under. Now bring your head back centered, take the sand off the left hip. And then as you switch sides, I would say not a lot of knee chest stuff going on now. Just give it a little time to come back to center, soles of the feet down, move your hips a little to the right on the back of the pelvis. Get your bolster and move it over to the left side. Have the left leg bendy. Don't let this straighten out, right? Bend it, and then let the right leg swing over. So this lower body area from the pelvis down can kind of turn, right? It's turning. But the upper body, to make it a twist, you want it to keep it so it's open and so they're both twisting two different directions, right? It's a revolve core strengthener here. So you do want to try to get the right shoulder to move down and not twist. So it's kind of a big no-no to bring your upper body to the left when your right leg is going left. Unless you're pregnant, right? That's the only reason you would do that, because you don't want to stretch the belly. It's the only contraindication I can think of, or maybe eye surgery, but you're not here if you had eye surgery recently. So we have the right arm open, we have the shoulder trying to lower down, and the chest is definitely getting that stretch, right? So it's a lot of stretch arterial wise, artery wise, heart. So make sure that you're pacing your breath, right? You don't want to do this and be catching your breath. That gives you a lot of information about where you're at. So if you can slow it down and just let the breath occurrence happen at a comfortable pace that you can witness. Your head can roll right, your head could stay center. They're both correct. Remember, it's the right side of the chest that's trying to stay open, the shoulder down. Some people try to keep both arms straight out to the shape of the letter T or goalpost. I like to, again, try to keep it pretty casual, get the alignment right, but not have to keep all the markers perfect so I can feel what's important, so I can actually enjoy it, okay? Not feel limited to only do one thing in each pose. Now bring your head back center, move the sand off, and then let's come into legs up the wall. You might enjoy doing that without putting your knees to your chest first. You might try that. It's a little more gentle approach versus coming out of the twist and then hugging your knees in. Unless you have to go, right? That would be a different reason. If you have to get up and go, you bring your knees to your chest and rock on the back. Otherwise, we'll come up and we'll take our bolster to the wall. If you don't do legs up at the wall, you do legs up on the bolster bench in the middle of the, not at the wall space. That's good. You can put your blocks under your bolster and make a little bit of height. So all we need is a blanket close to the wall. It's not far away. And we sit up on the bolster on the edge, on the short end. And we swing the legs up by rolling on the sacrum. Okay. Now, you likely roll each side. Like we go up one side generally and we roll the other side. That's pretty typical in our habits. So when you do get into the shape, you decide how far away you are from the wall. Okay, I think this idea of getting straight up to the wall is some of us just find that's what we should do, but really a little space is probably going to be gentle on your back. So see if you can let yourself have that space from your seat to the wall. And then take your sand onto the soles of the feet and the legs go straight up. Okay, let the spine receive the benefit, right? So this is kind of reversing the effects of gravity on our spine. Happy spines. Happy spinasana. So with the back of the pelvis lifted up and the ribs, the lower ribs flowing and stretching apart without having to do anything but be on a bolster. That's all you do. Okay, and if you're in bolster bench, let's say, and you've got a blanket under your head and a spare blanket that you didn't put on your bolster, you could put that under your ribs too, or under your pelvis as well to help the lower ribs gently stretch apart just with the prop supporting. Receive your breath, filter through the nose. Feel the abdomen moving. Just simply receiving our practice slowly. And notice what relaxes in you. This does require some effort. It requires core strength, flexibility in a lot of areas, right? Legs, lower backs, ribs, abdominals, right? That requires the most, but that's not flexibility, it's tone. And the tone of the diaphragm. So notice what actually can relax. So it's probably your heart and your brain. Those are probably the two areas that can actually take a little vacay here. The breathing muscles have to work a little extra here. Right? The diaphragm has all this weight pushing on it when you're inhaling now, and you have to go. Normally your head is at the top and everything, basically is in prolapse or sags down when you breathe. Right now you're turning it upside down. So you're working on tone in the core and also in the diaphragm. To kind of feel that tone, but also feel that having your heart this direction reverses the flow, that directional flow of blood back to it. It's calming. It's soothing to the heart and the brain. Take about 4 more breaths here. Okay, now when you start to shift, you're going to just move your legs first. If you have an eye pillow on, leave it on as long as you can. But first move the legs away from the wall just a little bit, because then you can kind of prime the lower sides of the abdominals. They grip up a little bit so your back doesn't get pulled to recruit your abdominals. So I'd say legs up would probably be your primary pose for abdominal, for lower back care, for kidneys, for heart, for brain. It's just a great overall shape for the spine and everything. So when I start to transition, I'm just going to bend my knees, maybe toss the sand overhead if I feel comfortable to do that. Don't want to make it too loud. Hold the back of your legs. You can bring them back up the wall if you like, but just give a little bit of a squeeze. And then roll to your side, the side you didn't come up on. And then you roll and take a seat. Take a moment here with the back of the pelvis, maybe close to a wall, or just visualize something at the back of the pelvis holding you up. Feel the neck draw back, feel the hands slide on the thighs, merging together, palms to palms. And uniting, feeling the energy of your practice. May the residue of the practice stay with you for some time today. Take a deep breath, belly soft. And as we exhale, bowing into the peace within your heart. Gratitude